So I was born here in Lewisham Hospital, Friday 27th of September, 1974. I don't remember, but I Googled the day, and I know it's Friday. And I grew up down the road on Idonia Street first. I remember living in a flat that was freezing cold in the winter, but super hot in the summer. There was no central heating. We had to use paraffin heaters. And I remember my mum always used to say to me, don't touch the heater, don't touch the heater. And at that time, lots of young people, lots of kids were being burned. Paraffin heaters were burning everybody. And that used to happen because the parents used to go out and leave us by ourselves, because that's what used to happen. And we would get cold, and we'd go to the heat, and we'd get too close and we'd get burned. So I grew up on Idonia Street. I then moved to Childer Street when I met Jill and all the other parents that used to bully us and keep us in check, which was great because we still have that discipline today, unlike some of our youth. And I grew up in a community that was great, and there's some big guys here who don't know the impact that they had on my life, because I have never told them, because I've never had the chance, but you know who you are, you're here today, and I'm grateful for that. From Childers Street, I moved to Grove Park, but in between that, I lived in a bedsit, because we had to move into a bedsit because we wanted to move from Deptford, and we moved into a bedsit when I was about 14, 15 in Paddington. So I was travelling from Paddington to Blackheath Bluecoats in Charlton every day to go to school. So clearly, I'm going to be disruptive because I'm depressed. Not knowing I'm depressed, but I'm depressed about my situation at home. So I'm going to school and I'm being disruptive in the class because of what was happening around me, and there was nobody there to guide me. There was nobody there. Finished school, moved out of home because I got fed up of washing dishes. So I went homeless for 2 years. I was homeless for 2 years, hostels all over the place, sleeping on walls, sleeping on park benches. All the homeless thing, I've done it. I've done it all. Been there, done it, benefits, been there, done it. I moved to Charlton when I was 18. Then at 18, we all know what happened to Steve. So that was a separate life. We're not here today about that. I then moved to Lewisham, and I went to college, and for those of you who don't know, we used to have black and white TVs. Now, I started off fixing black and white TVs, then colour TVs, then VCRs, Betamax, and VHS. Anyone have a Betamax video player before? Betamax and VHS. Betamax was the best, but everybody bought VHS because they didn't know what they were doing. But that's how it was. I then went on to fix satellite dishes and the receivers. And then from there, I was walking around Lewisham College, and I saw a classroom that had a photocopier in there, printers. And I said, I want to fix those. So I did that for a year. Then at 22, I got a job fixing photocopiers in East London, so I had to travel from my home in Brockley all the way to East London, and I did that for £60 a week. That's where I was coming from, £60 a week I did that. I left there and worked in Oak Kent Road, still doing photocopiers, printers, earning much more money than £60 a week because then I was skilled by that time. At the same time that was happening, I was this little activist on the side, going to police stations, creating havoc, going on marches, going on demonstrations, doing all those kind of things, supporting people who were in need. Why? Because I was in need and nobody was there supporting me. So I made sure I was out supporting people who were in need. All that activism did all of that. I was out there, done it all. We had Macpherson, and then we were told in '99 that police are racist. Okay. After that, I became the most stopped black individual in Britain because they took it out on me. It was my fault that they were racist. And so they were stopping me and beating me up and all those kind of things. That happened for a little while. Do you remember the shooting of Derek Bennett? Yeah. Brixton? So I was down there demonstrating, and I met this guy called Brian Paddock. Lord Paddock he is now. He was the borough commander of Lambeth. He was the one who had this approach, this softly approach on cannabis, which I'm going to bring to Lucian, because we don't have a cannabis problem. So we shouldn't have police officers stopping our young people for cannabis when we have a serious youth violence problem, not a cannabis problem. Brian saw me at one of these demonstrations, and he came up to me and said, Duwayne, my commissioner is talking bullshit. There was no need for that man to die. I was confused. He knows I hate the police and I'm against the police, but he's coming to me and giving me this information. Went to see him a few times. He then got me involved in the Police Complaints Authority. The PCA was before the IPCC. So I was brought in to engage, because of my so-called experience with the police, and engage about police behaviour. But every time I went to these meetings, I just got too angry, because they were just giving people bullshit. And then you had people who were sitting in the meetings who were telling everybody they were community leaders and were accepting the bullshit in the meetings. And they knew that what we were being told was lies, but because their little organisation was getting that little funding from that local authority and that little funding from the police, they allowed the institution to get away with what they wanted to. So anyway, Brian then ran for mayor 2008. He asked me to be on board. I said, yes, I'll come along, get some experience. After that, he said to me, join politics, you're an activist, you've got a voice. I said, really? I don't think so. I don't think I can be calm enough. I can't take the bullshit, it's too much. No, you can practice that, you can get rid of that. Okay. Came back to Lewisham, phoned up the Tory party, they didn't answer, phoned up Labour. What do you think they said? F off. Phoned up, I lived there, and they said, come on down. Went down, and they welcomed me with open arms and said to me, we are going to do everything possible we can to make you a great leader. I don't know these people from anywhere, but they saw something in me that I didn't know was there at that time. 2009, I got elected in the council. The by-election was in Downham, and the Labour candidate is the same candidate who's the candidate for mayor now, Damien Egan. Same candidate, so it's all good. Labour's campaign in Downham was vote Labour and get the British flag flying over the town hall. Get the British flag flying over the town hall. Now, those are the kind of campaigns we saw from NF and BNP. But Labour was adopting that position because in Downham that time, racism was still there. Damien lost and I won, which the council hate to this day. In August of 2009, so I'm a councillor in 2009, in August of 2009, I then get elected onto Local Government Association. Local Government Association is a body that gets lots of money for nothing, but it's there. And they represent all the councils across the country, and all the councils have their councillors on all different boards, and you go there and you get paid and you do lots of work that anybody can do, but because you have CLLR before your name, councillor, everyone thinks you're special. But you're not really special, because it's the civil servants that do the work, give you the finished product, and all you do is talk about the finished product. That's what you do in politics. So I get elected there 2009, and I go everywhere around the country, everywhere, and I'm involved in everything. I had a mentor who was a Tory councillor, a guy called Les Lawrence, and for the first 18 months, he took me everywhere, showed me everything. And we'd go to meetings, and it would be him, and he would be walking, and we'd go into a room, and it's all white folk in the room, and no one would acknowledge me. They'd acknowledge Les, and no one would acknowledge me. And Les would then introduce me to everybody, and there'd be a moment of silence. And then everyone got back to normal, doing their talking and their networking. And he said to me, I'm doing this so you can understand what you will have to deal with. this is a guy from Birmingham. I don't know this guy. I met him at the local government, and he decided that he was going to mentor me. Nobody else. He decided he was going to do it. So I led on violence against women and girls, metal theft. If you've been on a train, it gets delayed. People have stolen the cable, metal theft, prevent. I tried to change the name of prevent around terrorism because the word prevent just tells us Islamist terrorists are around. So I tried to change that, couldn't change that. The biggest thing I did was near the end when I left after 4 years was police and crime commissioners, which we have around the country. They took over from police authorities, which is all, it's all outside of London stuff, not in London. And it was my job to go around to all these local councils to ensure that they were ready for police and crime commissioners and their panels, because they all had these crime panels that needed money and to make sure I had the budget, and there's rules and regulations and policies and procedures, and it was my job to learn everything and ensure that the councils abide by all the rules. A few years ago, I was the advisor to the deputy mayor in London. How I got that job was because he came to an event where we was talking about police and crime commissioners, and he didn't have any answers to any of the questions. And the reason he didn't have an answer, because he just got his job 2 months before. So all the questions that were being thrown at him, I dealt with them for him. So I was in this event, and for an hour and a half, I answered all the questions. And he thanked me, and then rewarded me later on down by asking me to be his advisor on stop and search. That's just some of the things I've done. There's lots more than that. But that's just some of the things I've done. Today, February 10th, 2018, I'm ready to be the next mayor. I'm ready to be the next mayor for this borough. Lewisham, 1 in 3 children in Lewisham experiences domestic violence at home today. Now, when I was growing up, it was prevalent. I experienced it, I saw it, and I know the impact on me. Today, 1 in 3 children experience violence at home. The same figure, 1 in 3 live in poverty. Poverty. Why? Why? On the deprivation indices, Lewisham is the 48th worst borough in the country. Why? Why? We will hear throughout this campaign, the Tories, the Tories, the Tories, the Tories, the Tories. We've had one party here in Lewisham, one party who's been spending the millions, the millions, the millions, the millions. So why are we in a borough that's the 48th most deprived borough in Britain? Where is that money going to? It's not going to local communities, is it? Last year, 4 million was given on grants that we can see on the paperwork, because others get distributed elsewhere, but it's called something else. £4 million was given away in grants to organisations that have been around for years. But you try find a report that talks about something positive they've done in the borough. You can't find it. You can't find it. Why? Because they're not doing anything in the borough. But because you're friends and associates with the mayor, they get looked after. We can do that. Why can't we do that? We elect our mayor, me, and I make sure the money gets spent in the right way, because we can do that, because that's what it's all about. But I can't do it without the help of you and everybody else. And I definitely can't do it if you don't know what day to turn up on. Definitely not. But on a serious note, we need change. And the only way to get change is if we do something different. So all of you who, boy, in my yard we vote Labour, you know, yeah, man, I vote Labour, cool. But stop ringing my phone for help. Because when I was there ready to offer you help, you ignored me. We need to do something different. We need to make a change because our young people are suffering. And I know what that's like. I know what it's like to have nobody there to help. I didn't have anybody to mentor me, so I had to make it my own way. And I have done. And those around didn't expect it to happen. I remember people used to laugh at me when I used to say that I'm being spied upon and I'm being followed. That's the way, man, he's paranoid, he's lost it. Okay, now we know it's true. The Met were spying on me. They spent, I don't know, millions spying on me. I don't know what for, but they did. But that's something else. So today I'm saying to you here today, every single one of you, we have to spread the message. We have to spread the message that if we want change, we have to do something else. Those who know me, I stand by my word. If I say no to you, you know it's no. But if I say yes to you, I'm going to move the moon and the stars and the sun to make sure I stick to my yes, because that's what I'm like. I have a conscience, and if I promise you something, I have to deliver it, because I will not sleep unless I deliver that promise. So I can say today, I promise that if I'm elected mayor, I will lead this borough in a new direction, a direction that benefits you and your family. It's not about me. I'm cool. I'm okay. I'm not like the others though. I'm not going to say I'm cool and okay and yeah, I'm cool, I'm gone. I ain't doing that, because I know what it's like when you're fighting a system and the system's wrong, but you don't have the power. So they just beat you down. And as Nalan says, the families, it does your head in. Because you know you're in the right, and this is what you should get, and this is the services that you should be provided with, but they're beating you down. I promise to stop that. That if I'm elected May the 3rd, May the 4th, it all changes. It all changes. And those are my promises. I also promised to ensure that our police, because things are changing. No one's talking about it yet. But in Lucian's going to be merged with Greenwich. We're going to have one OCU team. So they need to be arresting people. So what's going to happen? It's going to be our young people again. So I promise to protect them from these aggressive and violent and racist and unprofessional and untrained police officers that we have. Now the police will deny it, but we know they exist because they're ordinary people like us, and we all know people who we wouldn't trust. So if we all know people we don't trust, we know there's people in the police that we don't trust. And that's on a personal thing. It's not we hate the police, but we just know how it goes. So I promise to protect our young people from the police. And I promise to ensure that by the end of my term, we don't have any more NEETs, young people not in education or training. I will shut down the PRUs. The PRUs are what? The PRUs are an invite to prison. That's all they're for. That's it. Here you go, my friend. Because we know where you're going, so here's your ticket. I will guarantee jobs. As the mayor, I will fund our young people's apprenticeships with local businesses. None of this bullshit about filling out forms and passing tests and exams. If they could do that, they wouldn't be in the position where they are. So let's move that hurdle. And I will put these young people in employment and promise those businesses that we will cover any loss that you suffer. Because I am quite confident that if I give these young people a chance, they're not going to mess up that chance. They're going to do their best to excel. Because I was always one of those waiting for that chance, and I got that chance, and I excelled. I excelled from £60 a week to going into a private business and want to charge them £500 for half an hour's work. Why? Because I got those skills, and I was able to do that. And I know many of our young people have got the skills. They haven't got the paperwork skills, but we can fix that. We can fix that over time once they're settled. Once you're settled in employment, everything else flows. Everything else flows. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I want to say my promises about what I want to do for the young people there for everybody to hear. So from today, if you want a change on May the 4th, stand up, make it happen, spread the word, WhatsApp, YouTube, however you can, spread the word, and now look forward to making a change on May the 4th. So normally in a campaign launch, the candidate will come, give a speech, and disappear. But I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I'm happy to answer. Good evening, sir. Thank you for coming on time. But we'll catch up. We'll catch up. So anyone who's got any questions about me, about my leadership style, or what I believe that I can do and how I'm going to do it, a question about any of those things, about politics, put your hand up. My colleague will come to you, the mic, ask your question. We go down, go around. What's your name? Say who you are, where you're from, how much money you got.
Hi everyone, my name is Bertha, and I just want to ask a question really regarding the fact that you said you are going to put some things in place that will help the young people when it comes to the stop and search. So I just want to know, what kind of things will you put in place that will actually help stop that?
Okay. London last year, we had 139,000 searches. 139,000 searches. 10 years ago, we had over 1 million searches. Okay? So last year, we had 139,000 searches across London. 86,000 of those searches, the police found nothing. Nothing. 86,000. 68% of those searches, the police found nothing. 12 to 14% were weapon searches. The rest, the majority, was for cannabis. We don't have a cannabis problem. We don't have a cannabis problem across London, and we definitely don't have a cannabis problem in Lewisham. So as the mayor, I can say to the borough commander, at a borough commander unit, and it's going to change, I don't want people stopped for cannabis. It's a waste of resources, and it upsets people, the interaction, because the police, many of whom are untrained and rude and disrespectful. Now, it's not unique to London, because I've done stop search stuff all around the country, and I've watched body-worn video around the country, and it's the same things we're seeing. People being stopped, you can be stopped, and they can ask you questions, but they're being searched unlawfully. The police don't have the grounds. The other side of that is this educational program which I want to lead, where I'm teaching young people their rights. Because that's what they need to know. Because if you know something's unlawful, you know how to behave. If they want to search you and it's an unlawful search and you've made that clear, now we have body-worn video, and you say to that officer, this search is unlawful, but I'm going to allow you to search me, and they search you and you get a copy of that video, it's a problem for that police officer. Until an organization starts to lose money, they don't change. Yeah? You can complain all you want. Yeah? You can complain, you go in McDonald's, you complain all you want, nothing happened. You stop people going in from outside, you see how fast they come and listen to you about what your issue is. So in Lewisham, to direct answer your question, I will direct the police. I do not want people stopped for cannabis in my borough. Crack cocaine, heroin, yes, but not cannabis. Next question. At the top, please, left.
Right, Duwayne, next future mayor. He was my next door neighbour, basically. I even flooded his house once. It was an accident, though. I want to know housing and regentrification, because as I'm driving through Lewisham, I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like, it's not us. They got all this new housing going on, and especially like around Deptford and certain places, and no real Deptford people like in those houses. It's all these people coming from West London. who are trying to slide in. I don't like it. I feel like I'm fearing like places like Deptford Market's gonna go. I'm fearing that we ain't gonna be able to buy yam and banana in the borough and stuff like that. They're running out all the little mechanics and that under the arches while they're raising up their rates and their rents and all that. And I know because I go and ask. Yeah, and I'm driving through and I'm seeing, and I don't think enough of us are aware, and we're not saying nothing about it. So right now, that's why I'm backing you, even more than I know you, and I know you're one of us. I know you're one of us, definitely. No one can't tell me nothing about that. But I want to know what you're going to do about things like that, because I think that's affecting the soul and the whole essence of our borough.
100%. It would be very difficult for the first couple of years to be able to stop what's already in the pipework, because a lot of these plans have already been approved and they're in the pipework, and they will be knocking down these blocks, moving people out, building these new ones. Put on paperwork, 20% will be affordable homes or social housing, and when it gets around to it, there's none. Now, that's what I'm going to beat up the Labour Mayor on, because he's the cabinet member for housing, and all of these things are happening under his leadership. So we know if he becomes mayor, it's even worse. It's even worse. When I do get to a position where new applications and new proposals are coming in that do not benefit the residents of Lewisham, I can put a stop to them. But we know now for the next 3 to 4 years, there's stuff in the pipework that's all coming that's not going to benefit the local community. And there's lots of groups now that are out there fighting against it, and they're now seeing that no one's listening to their voice, because they've all contacted me and asked what I support on 100%. Even by St Mark's on Edward Street, where that tennis court is. So they want to build social housing there. So one of my policies is to freeze the rents and the rates on the market stalls for the next 4 years, because they keep going up and up, and business isn't there like it was before, but yet they're still putting pressure. I remember when I was a councillor and I had to sit on the licensing committee, and sometimes they're calling in these market traders who are clearly having difficulties. And they call them in and they say to the people, why haven't you paid your pitch money? Why haven't I paid? And they will say, well, I'm struggling. And the councillors would say, but the money is for the council, and the council needs the money. So the council needs their little £65, which they haven't been able to pay, much more than what's happening in that person's life. And I used to sit there and say, you know, when the stallholders used to leave, was that really necessary? Yes, it was, Councillor Brooks. The council's got to get this money in, the council's got this, the council's got that. I said, but the council can't fail. The council can't fail. The council can borrow money internationally, all around the world. The council can't fail. So why are we beating up on these little people? If you got a problem, do something about it. That was their response. Next question, please. The lady in red, who was here on time.
Hello, I'm Annette. We've all got somebody connected to knife and guns and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, isn't it not possible, like, the way how they target people for simply, like, your mobile phone or something, you know, so trivial, can we not, instead of throwing them in jail, let's put them to become a part of our new British Army? Like, if you like guns and you like violence and you're brave and you're fearless, like, because, you know, some people say when you go to the funeral and you see what you've done to families and stuff, but that's still not melting people's hearts. It still isn't making them think twice about going out, and what they're killing people for is egotistical stuff. Like, I'm not saying any killing is right, none of it is right, but when something happens to someone who was innocent, then you've got a revenge person that wants to do that and all of this, and no one cares about, you know, innocent bystanders, the grief of the family, the loss of the family. Can you have any links with the army, help them recruit, get the gun people? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I do. Do you want to come in now or after? But no, I don't have any links to the army. But I wouldn't want to send, though, our children to fight their wars. Because we've seen what their wars are all about: money and oil and power.
I just wanted to quickly say, I'm not sure if you guys heard me speak at the starting, but what Dwayne's actually trying to help us understand is the liberties what the council's taken. So I run a youth organisation, and in 2012, our organisation was one of the first organisations what piloted working with young people who carried knives and stuff. And for 2 years, we worked with 55 young people who the police had arrested with knives. And out of the 55, 92% of them didn't carry a knife again after they worked with us. It's about helping young people understand the real impact of knife crime, understand what our quote-unquote say is the road culture that nobody else quite understands, that only we understand, and we have to accept and take ownership of it. Now, 2 years after we published the report, it was probably, and still is, the most successful knife crime program in the whole country, and guess what the council did?
So just on that, why are organisations like PI not being funded? Not being funded. So that's where you saw the video, the power of the mayor, funding, grants, loans. I used to see paperwork where organisations were given funding and then were given loans. And then were given funding that paid back the loan. And you think, how is that happening? And no one is challenging that. And the reason no one is challenging that, because if you have one party running a local authority, nobody's going to say anything. No one's going to say anything. Then you've got this guy in there who's just a complete rebel. I'm not signing that. I'm not agreeing to that. They didn't like that. And they worked extremely hard and spent a huge amount of money to get me out down when I was a councillor. I remember during the riots at local government, and they came to me with this press release. Councillor Butch, you've got to come in. We want to do a press release on the riots. Yeah, okay, I'll come. I get there, they have this press release they want to put out that says black gangs. So I looked at the person, I said, who wrote that? I go to the person on their floor, did you write this? Oh yes, Councillor Brooks, we need to get it out as soon as possible. Can you sign it? No. Is there a reason, Councillor Brooks? Yes, there's no black gangs. Where's the black gangs? Show me. Oh, but that's the report that we've got from the Met, and the Met are out on the streets of London, and they're saying it's black gangs. I said, okay, let's tore it up. 3 times they came to me and asked me to sign it, and 3 times I said, I'm not signing nothing that talks about black gangs. Sorry. So in the end, it didn't go out, and there was never a press release from local government on the riots. Some people were fuming, some people weren't. But I tell you, who didn't say anything was other people who were affected by what was happening, who should have stood up and said, no, I can't support that press release. They turn a blind eye. Why? Because they're getting their little benefits on the side for where they were. Because at local government, look man, you put expenses down for anything. Anything. You go and buy a 99p pack of Andrex, you're putting that down. And that's how it was. And that's why we ain't got no money, because people were just abusing the system. When we used to go out to conferences, they used to put me in executive rooms in the hotels. And these rooms are huge rooms with 2 king-size beds. Why do I need 2 king-size beds? So I used to give those rooms over to staff, to other staff, because I used to say, I don't want those rooms. And why are we paying extra for these huge rooms that we don't need? And the reason is because you had snobby people there who believed that they were entitled to certain things, and they abused the system. And that's what we saw with the MP expenses. They abused the system.
Okay, working in the education sector, and you sort of making the comment of there being a high rate of exclusions in the borough, I feel so. I've sort of I've been met with the challenges that that you can face as an educator, but the challenges that children are faced with having a special educational need. And I feel as though those challenges are being experienced because actually the boroughs don't have the resources to meet their needs properly. And as a parent, I haven't experienced the frustrations and the difficulties of a child being faced with that challenge, but as a parent, I've been able to empathise with the difficulties and the challenges and the frustrations that parents have been able to face. What changes are you going to be able to make, and what do you think the impact of those changes are going to be sort of moving forward?
Okay, this nonsense that there's no money, it's nonsense. It's all nonsense. So Lewisham Council and their cronies done something wrong the other day around the CPO around Millwall, and then they had this self-serving investigation where they cleared themselves. £500,000. £500,000. Where'd that come from? We're a borough that's got no money, but we spend £500,000 on some nonsense to clear the name. The money is there. It's how it's being spent. So if that block of people are not voters and therefore don't have a voice, why am I going to give you money? That's how it works. So a classic example, in Blackheath village, they put a bus lane there once. And within 6 months, they had to remove it because the people who had the loudest voices were saying, I'm fed up of being fined £80 going in the bus lane when there's only 2 lanes there. So to put the bus lane, there's only 1 lane. And within 6 months, they removed it. Why? Because that's a huge voting block in Blackheath. So the council moved it. If I'm elected, the way I will spend the money is completely different to how it's being spent because I know what it feels like to be in those kind of positions and exactly what Nalan's spoken about. I have friends, family like that I know. So there will always be funding for those needs. What they won't be funding for, though, is organisations like the Albany. They've got 300,000. What for? 300,000 last year. What for? What is the Albany doing to assist the young people today in this borough? What are they doing? So why are you getting so much money? So the way I will spend the money is completely different. So those families, if they come out and vote, my promises are there for them too. And there's lots of things I want to do around education also. But if it's on their statement, and we're moving on to these EHC plans, if it's there, you're going to get funding for it. There's no discussion. Why should you have to fight with your local authority for what's due to you and your family? But quickly on education, I would have set up a debating society in Lewisham because some of our young people don't know how to communicate. And I remember, because when I was there, it was, I don't care. I'm not interested, I don't care, because I didn't know. Right. So we can fix that, easy peasy, because it's done in all the private schools. So why can't we do it in our schools? So if I set up a Lewisham debating competitions with our secondary schools, we will change that in 1 year because each secondary school is going to want to win. So they will put the effort into creating a team that can win. And then based on that, we will then enter the national debating competitions. Because we want to change the view of Lewisham. Because sometimes you go on some websites and you're seeing people writing some crap about, I don't want to travel through Lewisham in case I get stabbed. I don't want to travel through Lewisham, it's too violent. We need to change that. And we won't change it with the same leadership. Last question, I think, I'm told. Last question. Oh, there are 2 questions. 2.5. 3.
How many people want to ask questions?
3 questions. All right, 5.
Final 5.
Overtime.
Overtime. I like overtime. So as you explained before, prime example being the Albany receiving 300,000 and not actually putting on the services they used to provide for young people in the past. Myself, I used to be a commissioner for Lewisham, so what you're saying I was privy to at a young age. Never noticed it because I was a little Labour poodle, but it worked. I woke, do you know what I mean? I got woke. Well, they stopped paying me, but we used to have a lot of funds, and I worked tirelessly to make sure that young people were, they received what they deserved in that sense. And even Emmanuel, he came to us a few times, and before they wouldn't have considered him in that sense. But when we, as young people, were put on that board, we took ownership and we made sure that ours were looked after. So would you be open to an idea of creating like a youth enterprise fund? Because these 11, 12-year-old, 13-year-olds are going missing because they're going to make money in country because their mum ain't got no money. Right, so, and if you know they have these skills, do you know what I mean? The European world tell us all the time, well, they're drug dealers, so they're good at maths. No, they're drug dealers, so they're good at covert operations, actually, right? Because they ain't been caught yet. And, well, it's the truth of it. Right, so, right. What can we do? Because at the end of the day, from when you're 53, if you're 53 and you're an elder and under 34, it's kind of peak for you. Like, what's for us?
Okay. So, but your first question is about creating
a fund, an enterprise fund.
So the fund will be managed primarily young men for that certain age group. Then after that, it gets a bit difficult. It gets a bit difficult in how you fund because you have to have a specific goal. And sometimes when you create that goal, you're leaving people behind. And I'm uncomfortable with that. So what I would need to do is this is one of those situations where you can make the decision once you're in to know what's there for you. Because then I can empower other organizations and say, right, this is the goal that I want to set for you, for these set of people. And do that, and I can have other organizations doing similar things. I know I'm giving them that money, and they know, because I'm going to go and see them personally.
You need to be the tax man with them.
I'm the kind of guy that I want to come and look in your eyes and sit down with you and say, right, I'm giving you this 250,000, but this is what I expect back from you. So if it doesn't happen, please don't put in another funding application, because it ain't going to work.
Okay. Great politics.
It's the truth. Who was next? Who was the... This lady on the end.
If you're elected mayor, how would you tackle the bureaucrats that you will have to deal with? Because they'll still be there. So how will you tackle them and tear down that barrier that is set up already? How would you do it?
Tackling the bureaucrats is not going to be easy, but
that's what.
It all depends on your leadership style. That's what it depends on, your leadership style. So my leadership in the council will be like how Richard Branson was. If you look after your staff will respond well. At the council now, that isn't happening. Why do you have to pay? You drive to work and you have to pay to park in the council's car park, but you work for the council. £500 a year. You have to take out of your hard-earned wage to pay. That's going to stop. That's going to stop. A lot of our staff members, social services, intense jobs, and they don't get the necessary time to recover. So we're going to change that. Also, I'm going to change the way that staff members can work from home, because sometimes it's more efficient to work from home. Why spend an hour and a half traveling to work when that hour and a half you could be at home doing the same work, but in a more efficient way? So once I bring that structure in, what are the bureaucrats going to do with their nonsense? How are they going to block all of that? It won't happen, because a lot of the times they work on bullying. So if they can bully, the managers can bully staff, they can get away with those things. There won't be no bullying, because if I hear about it, I'm going to go and deal with it personally, because that's my leadership style. I'm a hands-on mayor. I'm not going to sit in the office and have other staff running around and doing stuff for me. I'm going to deal with it myself.
Okay, sorry, just one more
question. Yes, go on,
question.
come back.
It's the, we've got places for young people and older people that are always been torn down and getting rid of. Now, there's a place in Lewisham that some people are trying to acquire, but because of the housing, they want to sell it to private investors. What happened to those young people and the older folks that use that particular building? How will you tackle that?
But like I said, I will change all of that. But if that's already gone, because we don't know, because that could already, planning permission could already been sought and given, and it's just sitting there waiting for money to come to change it. Those situations, I'm going to stop all of those, because my way of moving forward is funding the youth organisation. Because when I was growing up, we had a nice life. We had money coming in to support us, play schemes, etc., youth clubs. We had all of that. Okay, we don't have the youth clubs, but I will be bringing back the free play schemes, because that's what we need. We need the structured education during that time, and parents need to know that their children are not on the street. So they're safe between 8 and 6 p.m. at a play centre that will be free. Two more questions, I think.
I just wanted to say, basically, I feel like there's a lot of talking being done in the borough. Like, there's a lot of talking. I've heard it like since I've grown up. That's a bit bare of that. But there's nothing being done. Like, nothing at all. Like, I feel like young people are like, I'm showing you because I'm young and I'm out here. Like, I know what's going on. But I realize that young people are scared. Like, they're actually scared of walking on the road. Like, walking on the road. Like, even me, like, you get scared because you know that you don't have to even be in a gang now. You don't even have to be in a gang. You don't have to. This year, so much innocent people have died. You don't even have to be in a gang. It's like everyone needs to fear for their life now, not just like gang members or drug dealers or whatever you guys want to say. Like, I'm realizing that everybody's fearing for their life now. Like, walking on the road, it's like, when I walked from A to B, I'm like, like, I'm scared, innit? I don't know if I'm gonna make it to B, get me? And what I realize is that most young people just live in this one way of life thing. Like, they've never come out of the community. You know, like, when I lived in Jamaica, when I lived in Jamaica, there was this wall, and I could never see over the wall because I was small. I could never see over the wall. But as I got older, I grew taller, and I got to see what was over the wall. Young people don't know that there's way more to life than what they see. And I think, like, if they knew what was there, what was out there. My mum sent me to Jamaica. I was a little bad breed, so my mum sent me there. And when I went out there, I saw real hard life. And that made me understand, basically, it made me understand, like, what is actually going on out there in the world. It made me, give me a better mind to what's really going on out there. And I feel like young people need to really know what's going on. Like, yo, there's opportunities, you know, there's opportunities out there, but you have to go out there and get them, look for them. Yeah, you can't just rely on, like, everything's, the government this, the government that. That's not my problem, you know. I went out there and made sure that I do music, so I made sure my voice was heard. If you don't want to hear it, I'm going to make up noise, I'm going to make sure it's heard. I'm right now, when they said they didn't want to, I went to a show, Lucian, my own era, Lucian People's Day, and they didn't want me to perform. They said my music's gonna start a riot. So you know what they did? The young people started rioting anyway. They started a riot until they let me on stage. I said, look, they're starting a riot anyway. And Lucian People's Day, everyone's fighting, everyone's all of that stuff. And as soon as they got me on stage, everybody came together. Everyone came together and everybody loved it. I couldn't believe that my own borough, the way I grew up, are not allowing me to come on stage and perform and show people. I'm trying to show them, like, look, I came from exactly where you came from, and look at me now. I'm performing, I'm traveling the world, I'm doing exactly what my best friend would have wanted. You get me? I'm doing exactly what my mum would have wanted, everybody would have wanted for me, and what I wanted for myself, I'm doing it. And the question I want to ask you is, if you get elected Mayor of Lewisham, is how are you gonna, what opportunities are you gonna put out there for young people to understand that there's way more to life than just the road lifestyle?
Okay. See that position where you're at and you can't see over the wall, so you don't know what's gonna happen the next day, you don't know where you're gonna go or which direction to follow. I've been there. Been there, so I know what that's about. But there are people here and there are people who are not here where that's their skills. That's their skills. All what you're asking, that's their skills. Much better than me, much more experienced than me. But why are they not out there? Because they're not getting the funding. Why are they not getting the funding? Because they know the people who are affected do not vote. So there's no reason to fund these organizations to assist you. So like when I was growing up and I was stuck and I didn't know where to go, it was other people that saw me and pulled me. I think you can do this, Duwayne. I think you can do that. I didn't know, I couldn't see. I couldn't see that, but they pulled me. And I know there's organizations in this borough that can do all of that. I just need to get them the resources to help people like you. Because once we do that, it all changes. Because once my eyes were opened about my ability, I was gone. You couldn't hold me back. You couldn't make excuses for me anymore. I weren't listening, I'm not interested, this is where I'm going. And I know there's lots more people like you that need that opportunity, because with that opportunity comes confidence. Once you become confident, it's all over. So my way of dealing with that is to fund those organizations who I know will create great results for people like you. But I can't do it if I'm not there. But we know if the other guy gets in, we already know what's happening because we see it now, so there won't be no change. So we have to make sure that to have that change, we elect me.
Mine's a partial question, partial statement.
Yes.
So I know a lot of the people here have a lot of high hopes and are putting possibly a little bit of pressure on you to deliver on what are you going to do about this and what are you going to do about that. But I think it's really important to focus on and educate ourselves and yourselves on what you can do to make a change. Because I know there was a chat up the top earlier that said about the arches and the new homes going up, etc. I'm sure a lot of the people here live in council houses for numerous years, and the lady earlier was talking about housing. It's important to know if you've been in your home for over 3 years, you've got the right to buy that home. And if you're working full time, you're probably paying full rent, and your mortgage is going to be as much, probably less as what you're paying for rent. And the council will give you a deposit to put on your home. So I work in property, so I'm really passionate about it. But the council will actually give you, whether it's 50%, 100 grand, etc., off of the home you live in, and that is used as a deposit to buy the home. So you need about 3 grand for solicitors' fees and mortgage brokers, etc., and that is it. And then you own. So this city, which we love, Deptford, New Cross, etc., you'll see the new bills going up, but you own your part of Deptford and your part of New Cross, and then your voice will actually have weight. They don't care about council tenants. They're just trying to get rid of council tenants. So it's important to build your credit. And I wanted to ask you if you would fund possibly a lifestyle skills or whatever you can do for young people to educate them on credit, first of all, because the first thing you do when you're 18 is, I want a contract phone, I want an iPhone X, and then, no, I never got paid enough this month, so I'm going to leave my bill, and EE, etc. might say to you, yeah, okay, we'll give you a couple of months to pay it off. That is ruining your credit, so you need to prioritize, and being registered to electoral roll is really important for your credit. Your credit will jump significantly, and there's people living in their parents' house that have no idea of this, and it's just a vicious cycle because their parents had no idea, because their grandma lives in a council house still, and it's just an absolute vicious cycle. And I think it's a lack of education of lifestyle skills which has buried our community as a whole.
Like I said earlier, there are organisations in this borough that can do all of that, but they're being hampered because they're not given the funding. And that's why I'm saying I will change the whole structure of how funding's done, because I want to see some return. There's an organisation down the road on Creek Road. Yeah, last year they got 50-odd thousand, but they've had hundreds and hundreds of thousands over the last decade. What have they done with that? Nothing. Because if you go in and you'll say to the gentleman, show me something, what you've done, gets defensive. Who are you to ask me these questions? I'm getting the funding because I'm doing great work. No. You're getting the funding because you're friends with those who make the funding decisions. So me, I will change all of that because I know here who are the right organisations to fund. And when I look you in your eye and you say to me, Duwayne, this is our plan, this is what we're going to do, I say, great. This funding is for you. If you don't achieve that, don't come back to me. So we will do that. That isn't pressure on me, because that's just me deciding from here who I know the best organisations are to deliver what we heard earlier, the assistance to the young people, and those kind of life skill training, money, credit, all of that stuff. I know who can do that, so we can change that without pressure. Last question.
It's just really an observation. I just wanted to ask, how many people pay tax? Everybody pays tax. When you go into a shop and you buy a sweetie, your child pays tax, value-added tax, yeah? Right now, we're being taxated with no representation. That's your representation, yeah? So make your tax money work for you.
Thank you. I'm prepared if you elect me as your mayor, May the 3rd, I am prepared to change the direction of this borough. It's time we had a council that works for us. It's also time we live in an illusion that's safe, prosperous, and a brighter place for each and every one of us. Thank you.